is never simple, but you never said it tears in threes. I was standing in your thunder while she was dancing in your breeze. You held me like a lover, but your mind was somewhere else. I felt her shadow in your heartbeat more than you ever truly felt. I tried to fit your broken pieces, but some wounds never find releases. It was a trial that broke my soul, two hearts you couldn't let go of. I kept bleeding just to make you whole, but you were torn between two loves. I gave you every part of me. You gave whatever pain controlled. In the end, the truth took everything. A triangle that broke my soul. Every promise that you whispered felt like lines rehearsed for her. I kept swallowing the heartache just to feel a little sure. But you were holding double stories, trying not to break the ties. And I was learning slowly, love can hurt without goodbyes. I kept wishing you would choose me, but wishes don't mend history. It was a triangle that broke my soul, where I was always number two. You were fighting with your memories, and I was fighting just for you. I gave you every part of me, but half your heart was uncontrolled. Tell me how I'm meant to heal from a triangle that broke my soul. Maybe love is not a battlefield, but it felt like one with you. I was reaching for a lifeline, you were reaching for someone you knew. I can be the quiet comfort for a heart that won't stay still. I deserve a steady story, not a love that bends your will. You split your love in fractions, but hearts don't work that way. I lost myself in trying to be worth the part you'd stay. It was a trial that broke my soul, but I won't let it break me more. I'm stepping out of all the shadows you kept hidden at your door. I gave you every part of me, but now those pieces out control. I'm walking from the wreckage of a triangle that broke my soul. Someday you'll see what you're missing when you search for love that's whole. But I won't wait inside the ruins of a triangle that broke my soul. I trace the empty spaces where your love used to breathe. You held me like a promise, but you spoke her name to me. I tried to be the light you needed, but you kept drifting out of reach. I'm standing in the quiet where your truth and lies both meet. And I keep asking myself, was I ever really yours? Or just a place you'd run to when her heart closed its doors? 'Cause I'm caught between your shadows, where your love is never clear. You say you want tomorrow, but you keep her standing near. I'm breaking in the silence while you call this something new. I'm lost between your shadows and the shape they make of you. You hold me when you're lonely, but you hold her when you dream. I'm tired of being half loved in the gaps of what you mean. You say we're more than maybe, but you stay tangled in her light. And I'm sinking in the truth now, that you'll never choose this right. And every time that you smile, I can feel the fractures start. It's like you take my heartbeat, then hand it to her heart. 'Cause I'm caught between your shadows, where your love is never clear. You say you want tomorrow, but you keep her standing near. I'm breaking in the silence while you call this something new. I'm lost between your shadows and the shape they make of you. Maybe I should walk away, but the memories pull me back. You're the sweetest kind of heartbreak, and the wound I can't unpack. If you ever love me truly, why do I feel so alone? I'm standing in your shadows, trying to find my way back home. Still I'm caught between your shadows, where your heart won't choose a side. I keep searching for the sunlight, but you only give me night. I'm breaking in the silence, where the truth cuts straight through. I'm done living in your shadows, now I'm stepping out of you. Caught between your shadows, but I'm walking past the pain. You won't be my story, not again, not again. You said love was complicated, but you never said it came in threes. I was standing in your sunlight while she was living in your breeze. You held my hand like it was real, but your heart was split in two. I was fighting for a future, you were torn by what you knew. And I tried to be your only, but I kept feeling like you maybe. It's heartbreak on the third side, where I'm loving you alone, where I'm second to a memory that still claims you as its home. You gave pieces to us both, but you never gave me hope. Now I'm left here on the outside, holding half of what you stole. I saw her name inside your silence, heard her echo in your sighs. Every kiss you laid upon me felt like somewhere else goodbyes. You kept promising tomorrow, but your yesterday stayed close. And no matter how I reached out, you were loving us like ghosts. I kept waiting for the choosing, but some hearts are built for losing. It's heartbreak on the third side, where I'm loving you alone, where I'm second to a memory that still claims you as its home. You gave pieces to us both, but you never gave me hope. Now I'm left here on the outside, holding half of what you Maybe love can't bloom in corners where you hide, where you can't face. Maybe I was just a bandage covering her empty place. But you can't heal fractured feelings by dividing what you give. Love is whole or it is nothing, and I'm choosing now to live. I loved you like a beginning, you loved me like a detour. I kept knocking on your heart, but it wasn't mine for sure. It's heartbreak on the third side, but I'm walking out this time. You can keep your split devotion, I deserve a love that's mine. You gave pieces to us both, but now I'm free in what you hold. I'm done living in the margins of a story left untold. So goodbye to loving halfway. Goodbye to standing in between. Heartbreak on the third side ends here, where I learn what hope can mean. I held on to every moment, thinking someday you might too. I tried to fill the quiet spaces where your heart was split in two. You kept saying you were healing, but your eyes gave truth away. Every time her name was spoken, you forgot the words to say. And I kept telling myself stories just to soften all the glories. I waited while you wanted her, like a shadow on your wall. You held me just enough to stay, but never fully loved at all. I gave you all my open heart, you gave what pain would let occur. I broke in silence, stitch by stitch. I waited while you wanted her. Every promise that you offered felt like smoke inside your hands. You were reaching out for comfort while she held your truest plans. I kept trying to be patient, to believe you'd turn around. But how do you compete with history when it pulls you to the ground? Loving you was just confession. I waited while you wanted her, in a world I couldn't change. You loved me in the quiet times, but loved her and brought her range. I gave you all my open heart, but you stayed lost in who you were. I drowned inside the in-between. I waited while you wanted her. Maybe love is not a battlefield, but I fought like it was one, trying to outrun a memory that you never meant to shun. I can't beg a heart divided to choose someone it can't keep. I deserve a love awake, not a love half fallen asleep. You loved her with your silence, you loved her in your doubt, and I was just a temporary place your loneliness poured out. I waited while you wanted her, but I'm done with standing still. Love shouldn't feel like sacrifice or a test you can't fulfill. I gave you all my open heart, now I'm taking back what you prefer. I'm healing from the truth I learned. I waited while you wanted her. Someday you'll see what you were losing in the love you wouldn't stir. But I won't be there beside you, I won't wait while you want her. I held your words like fragile letters, folded neatly in my chest. You said you'd try to love me better, but you loved her more, I guess. I kept waiting for the moment you look at me the way you did her, but every smile you gave me felt like echoes growing dimmer. I kept hoping you were healing, but love betrays its true feeling. Love you, lose you, watch you choose her. That's the story that you wrote. I was holding on to maybe, you were holding on to ghost. I gave everything I had, you gave pieces you preferred. Love you, lose you, watch you choose her. And it still breaks me to say those words. You would tell me I was special, but your eyes said otherwise. Every time her name was spoken, your heartbeat changed its size. I kept trying to be patient, pretend it didn't cut so deep, but you can't compete with history or the secrets that you keep. And I learned the quiet hurting is the loudest kind of burning. Love you, lose you, watch you choose her like I never stood a chance. I was building us a future, you were stuck in your past dance. I gave everything I had, you gave less than I deserved. Love you, lose you, watch you choose her, and it still stings every time it's maybe love can't bloom in places where you've left the doors half open. Maybe I was just a chapter in a book that's already broken. I don't blame you for your feelings, but I must protect my own. I can't wait for someone's choosing kept every word you whispered, like they were promises you meant. But you were drawing hearts in shadows while mine was breaking, heaven sent. I tried to read between your lines, but all I found were warning signs. You held my hand but turned away, like you were scared you'd ever stay. You said that love was complicated, but truth is simpler, cold and faded. I was the second choice in your story, a name you wrote in faded ink. You loved her first and I was only the space you filled when you couldn't think. You gave me half of what you promised and kept the rest for memories. Oh, it hurts to know my glory was just a second place in your story. You spoke about forever softly, like you were scared that she might hear. Your heart was living in two places while I was standing right here. You kissed me like a guilty secret, hoping the truth would disappear. But you can't love two worlds at once, and I was left with all the months. I told myself you'd learn to choose me, but I was lying to the bruise of me. I was the second choice in your story, a name you wrote in faded ink. You loved her first and I was only the space you filled when you couldn't think. You gave me half of what you promised and kept the rest for memories. Oh, it hurts to know my glory was just a second place in your story. Maybe someday you'll look back and see the heart you pushed aside. Maybe you'll trace the empty spaces where I used to stand and cry. But by then I'll be a stranger to the boy I once adored. You can't rewrite all the pages when you've torn out half the story's core. I loved you more than I should have. You loved her more than you admitted. I stayed thinking you changed, but some won't stay committed. I was the second choice in your story, but now I'm done with begging fate. If I wasn't your one and only, then losing you was my escape. You gave me half of what you promised, but I'm reclaiming all of me. No more standing in the shadows of someone else's story. I hope she gives you what I couldn't, or what you never let me be. Goodbye to being the second choice in the story that wasn't mine to read. I held your words like fragile truth, pressed them gently to my chest. But every vow you gave me was a promise made to rest. You painted love in perfect colors, but your hands were stained with doubt. I kept trying not to notice, while the truth kept bleeding out. And I stayed afraid of losing what you never wanted. once were choosing. Now there's sorrow in the space you fill with lies. Echoes where your heartbeat used to rise. I gave you all the parts of me, but you hid behind your alibis. I tried to love you through the shadows in your eyes, but truth breaks softer than goodbyes. Now I'm standing in the emptiness you left behind. Sorrow in the space you fill with lies. I kept forgiving every whisper, every story you rewrote, but the cracks beneath your silence held the truth inside your throat. You were loving me in pieces when your heart was somewhere else, and I broke myself to fit you till I couldn't find myself. And the worst part of the hurting is the trust you kept deserting. Now there's sorrow in the space you fill with lies. Echoes where your heartbeat used to rise. I gave you all the parts of me, but you hid behind your alibis. I tried to love you through the shadows in your eyes, but truth breaks softer than goodbyes. Now I'm standing in the emptiness you left behind. Sorrow in the space you filled with lies. Sorrow in the space you filled with lies. Maybe love was just a shelter from the storm inside your chest. Maybe I was just a refuge while you loved someone the best. But I won't be your quiet hiding from the truth you never speak. I deserve a heart that's open, not a love that leaves me weak. You never meant forever. You never meant the truth. I carried every broken word like they belong to you. Now there's sorrow in the space you filled with lies, and I'm done with being blind beneath your skies. I gave you all the parts of me, but you treated love like a disguise. I try to heal you, try to see you through your cries, but you chose the mask you wear and why. Now I'm walking from the ruins of the love we tried. Sorrow in the space you filled with lies. One day you'll face the truth you're hiding, but I won't be there when it arrives. I'm leaving all the shadows you created, and the space you filled with lies. Built a little world together, paper thin but full of hope. I thought love was growing stronger, you just needed time to cope. But your silence told a story that your lips refused to speak. Every time I reached to hold you, you felt further every week. And I kept trying not to notice, but the truth was always closest. We fell in love, you fell for someone else. I was writing futures you had shelved. You were drifting to a heartbeat that no longer matched with mine. I kept giving you my whole heart, you kept drawing stranger lines. We fell in love, at least I thought we did, but you fell for someone else instead. season, and our winter came too soon. Maybe you were only waiting for the light of a different moon. I can't hate you for the breaking, but it tore through every part. She may have stolen your affection, but you gave away my heart. I loved you with everything, you loved me with what was left, and I mistook your empty space for something you still kept. We fell in love, you fell for someone else, and I finally freed myself from the shadow of a story that was never truly mine. I kept giving you forever, you kept giving me a sign. We fell in love, at least that's how it felt, but you fell for someone else instead. Someday I'll love without the fear of being placed upon a shelf, but I remember how it shattered. We fell in love, you fell for someone else. We were holding the same moments, but they never felt the same. I was reaching out to meet you, you were whispering her name. I kept trying to be enough, but love shouldn't feel like proof. Every smile you gave me faded when she walked into the room. I stayed hoping you would choose me, but truth can wound so beautifully. You loved us unequally, and I was the one who bled for it. You held her in your memory while I held on, trying not to quit. I gave you my whole heart freely, you gave me half and hid the rest. Tell me why I kept on fighting for a love that never passed your test. Every night you'd pull me closer, but your eyes were somewhere else. I was loving you in color, you gave me shadows of yourself. I could feel her in your heartbeat, a rhythm I could never break. I was loving you sincerely, you were loving out of ache. Thought if I healed what you were holding, you'd stop your heart from slowly folding. You loved us unequally, and I was the one who stayed too long. You kept her safe in memory while I kept trying to be strong. I gave you my whole heart freely, you gave me half and kept the key. Tell me why I kept believing you'd give the rest of you to me. Maybe I was just a shelter from the storm you couldn't face. Maybe she was still your compass, and I was only misplaced. But love shouldn't feel like waiting for a chance that never comes. I deserve a heart that chooses, not a heart that always runs. I loved you with no conditions, you loved her with no control. I was living in the present, you were tied to what was stolen. unequally, and now I'm done pretending blind. You kept her in your history while I kept losing all of mine. I gave you my whole heart freely, but I'm taking back what's left of me. Someone else will love me wholly, not unequally. I hope someday you'll stop dividing every love that comes your way, but I can't be the one who's waiting for your heart to learn to stay. You spoke of love like it was certain, like the sunrise you never doubt. But behind the warmth you gave me lived a fire slowly burning out. You held me close but not forever. Your arms were borrowed, never mine. I tried to trust the dream you painted, but I was running out of time, and I kept clinging to the moment, even when your heart felt distant. Your promise wasn't mine to keep, it was something said in passing, a truth you whispered half asleep while your mind was somewhere crashing. I loved you with an open door, but you locked what you couldn't speak. I gave my heart a little more, but your promise wasn't mine to keep. I felt her name inside your silence, though you swore she didn't stay. But memories have sharp edges, and yours never went away. I tried to hold the pieces gently, but they cut me every night. You said you'd try to love me fully, but you never won that fight. I kept hoping you'd choose healing, but love reveals its truest meaning. Your promise wasn't mine to keep, just a comfort for the moment, a fragile vow you couldn't keep, a hope that never found content. I loved you with an open heart, but you loved with wounds too deep. I gave what you could not return. Your promise wasn't mine to keep. Maybe love was just a shelter from the storm you couldn't face. Maybe I was just the quiet where you caught your breath in place. But darling, I deserve devotion, not a half-forgotten vow. I deserve more than broken echoes of a love you can't give now. I held on to every sentence like they meant eternity, but you never meant the future, you just needed company. Your promise wasn't mine to keep, and I'm finally letting go now. You held a heart you couldn't keep, and I kept waiting, not sure how. I loved you more than you believed, but love can't bloom when wounds run deep. So I released the part of me. Your promise wasn't mine to keep. Maybe someday you'll find someone who can hold what you can't speak, but I'll be gone and I'll be healing from a promise never